Fine. So we are starting with what exactly are objectives. So in strategic management, there are strategic objectives and financial objectives. Additionally, see, all objectives are either short run or long run types. When planning a firm's strategy, it is very important to have objectives in mind, okay, and to understand what exactly are the uh, different types of objectives. So let us start with discussing about strategic objectives. When it comes to strategic objectives, they usually deal with what exactly is the position of a firm in the entire business model. And you might do this, for example, by positioning your firm relative to external forces. External forces can be in the form of um, bargaining power of customers, okay, or say bargaining power of suppliers. There are so many new entrants who are eager to plunge into a market, okay. There are so many substitutes out in the market, and there is always a rivalry among various competitors within any particular industry. So these are some of the different types of forces that that are always there in any kind of industry, and this can actually impact any type of business. So strategic objectives might include expanding market share, or say a changing market position, or say undercutting a competitor's cost. So these are all about strategic objectives. Another set of objectives is the financial objectives. Financial objectives are usually used by managers to measure what exactly has been the performance of a particular strategy. You can say, in order to measure strategic performance, financial objectives are usually taken help of. For example, if the firm's strategic objective is to increase, say, efficiency, okay, I'm running a firm, and my strategic objective is to increase the efficiency. Now, with regards to increase in efficiency, the financial objective could be to increase return on assets, or say return on capital invested. This is how exactly a manager is trying to relate his financial objectives to strategic objectives. Are you getting me? You can have marketing objectives as well, okay, but marketing objectives are also in line with financial objectives. There are so many departments in a firm, okay. So first of all, you need to set your strategic objectives, and with your strategic objectives you can align all your departmental objectives. The most prominent one are financial objectives. If you are actually profitable, that means your strategies are working in the right direction. So financial objectives, they are usually derived from management accounting, and they are relatively more concrete. Another type of classification of objectives is whether they are short term or they are long term. So on this basis, you have short term objectives and you have long term objectives. Uh, in case of financial and strategic objectives, they can either be short run, or say a long run, or say long term objectives. You can call it as short run or short term, long run or say long term. When it comes to short term objectives, they usually deal with the immediate future, okay. Can be a couple of years, um, can be a particular quarter of a business period, business year, fiscal year, okay. And these short term objectives that typically focus on tangible goals that management can realize in a short period of time. For example, my short term objective would be to increase monthly sales by 2%, okay. So right now, if I'm if my monthly sales is say 10,000, okay. So the next month, there should be an increment of 2% over it, okay. The next month again, there should be 2% over to the previous month. These are short term objectives. For another manager, short term objective maybe stretched over a quarter, okay. You can have 4 months, okay. So you need to achieve your objectives in a span of 4 months. That can also be considered to be a short term objective, okay. When in terms of talking in terms of long term objectives, they are targeted towards firm's long term position. So while short term objectives focus on a firm's annual or say monthly performance or say quarterly, half yearly performance, long term objectives they concern with the firm's development over a period of time. It may take several years. Examples, now when it comes to long term objectives, they can also be tangible, intangible, okay, in one sense. Example, a long term objective might be to become the market leader or to attain a sustainable growth. Now when it comes to sustainable growth, what exactly is the meaning? In that sense, I said a long term objective may be intangible, just like that of vision statement. We don't put figures, actual figures in vision statement or say in mission statement. Similarly, in case of long run objectives, you can have say figures, or say you may not have figures. Okay, so this is what exactly is long term and short term objectives. Any questions on this? Any questions? Have you understood what exactly are objectives? Just I would like
Yes.
your people to go through what exactly is the definition of objective.
Yes, sir, it's
Object,
clear.
yeah, yeah. You want to say something?
No, sir, I understood.
Yeah. So objectives are relatively more, specific. They are actionable targets. Yes, anyone? You're not audible. Okay. So objectives are specific. They are, actionable targets, and they need to be achieved within a particular time frame. Okay. It can be a month. It can be 4 months. It can be 6 monthly objective. It can be a year or less. Okay. Uh, you know, uh, so objectives ultimately describe the actions or activities involved. Okay, for example, in order to achieve objectives are always are different from goals. Right now I'm not talking about goals. Let me quote some of the examples of objectives. Now, one of my objectives can be to earn a minimum of 15% return on investment in a fiscal year. So I have mentioned that my return on investment should be 15%. If I'm investing 100 rupees, I should get 115 rupees in a fiscal year. This is my objective. Now it is it depends on what exactly is the perspective of a manager, whether he's looking at a year as a short term, or say he's looking at a year on a long term basis. So accordingly you can say it to be a short term or say a long term objective. Another example would be to increase the company's market share to 7%. Right now, suppose my market share is 5%. So by the end of next fiscal year, my objective would be to attain a market share, significant market share of 7%. Okay, as against my competitors. Another example would be, I would like to, cut down the operating costs by 10% in a span of 2 years. So I have given, 2 years for my company, for myself, for various departments to, to reduce the operating cost by 10 years. So by the end of 10 years, okay, you should be able to cut down the overall, operational cost by 10%. So, at the end of 2 years, the figures, okay, would be compared to what exactly were the figures 2 years before, 2 years before. So if that is the case, I would say that I have achieved my objective. Another one would be, reduce the response time for, sales inquiries. Okay, to 12 hours by the end of this quarter. Right now, I must have perceived that I'm taking relatively more time to respond to to sales inquiries. Okay, and as a result of which my customer acquisition is getting hampered. So I'm developing an objective to reduce the response time for sales inquiries to just 12 hours. Okay, so if I'm getting any sales inquiry, say at 8 a.m. in the morning, okay, this sales inquiry should be answered before 8 p.m. on the same day. Okay, that is, this is how exactly I'm trying to reduce the response time. So in order to achieve my objectives, there are so many means. Okay, I may have to recruit more employees. I may have to recruit more contract laborers. Okay, I may be required to upgrade my technology, my infrastructure. I may be required to increase my salespeople. I may be required to increase my distribution network. I may be required to increase the number of retail outlets so that my market share, my sales volume would go on increasing. So this is what exactly objectives are all about. Okay, so objectives are ultimately the end results of any planned activity, and they are very clear as to what exactly has to be accomplished, and by what time it should be accomplished. In that sense, objectives are more quantifiable. Okay, some of the examples of American companies. Take the case of 3M, Minnesota Mining and Manufacturing Company. Its financial objectives were to achieve 10% growth in earnings per share, to achieve 20 to 25% return on equity, 27% return on capital employed. Okay, and these are the characteristic features of objectives. Objectives form a hierarchy. Okay, they form a network. I guess we have already discussed this. Okay, how exactly objectives form a network. You have strategic objectives, and to this strategic objectives, various departmental objectives should be linked. So when all your departmental objectives get linked to the strategic objectives of the firm, ultimately you develop a network of objectives. And there is objectives always get multiplied. So multiplicity of objectives is one more characteristic feature of objectives. They can be long, they can be short range. Again, as far as long and short range objectives are concerned, it is the perspective of management. For a manager, 2 years may be a short term duration, and for another company, 2 years may be a long term duration. So you cannot define what exactly are short range and long range objectives. For a firm, 2 years may be a short range, and for another manager, okay, of a different firm, 2 years maybe a longer period. So, but usually when you're talking in terms of months, okay, months or quarters or say half yearly, you can say that these are relatively short-term objectives. And when you talk in multiples of years, 5 years, 10 years, then ultimately it becomes long-range objectives. You can have objectives in markets to increase the market share by 10%, by 5%. Okay, you can have objectives in productivity. You can have objectives in innovation, in product profitability, physical facilities. I would like to expand my physical facility. Right now, I'm having only one manufacturing unit, and taking the demand in consideration from the market as a whole, I need to have at least at least four manufacturing facilities. So by the next fiscal year, I would like to start another physical facility, say in Mumbai. Okay, so this would be my short range objective. You can also relate your objectives to organizational structure, activities, to departmental performance, to individual performance. You can have objectives in the area of customer relationship management, in social responsibility as well. Okay, now why you need objectives? What exactly are the importance of objectives? Objectives would ultimately help you in giving a particular direction. Okay, they create a competing environment within an organization. If you don't have objective, all your employees would be their efforts would be scattered in multiple directions. So in order to have uniformity in direction, you need to have objectives. Okay, uh, it ultimately helps in coordinating efforts, in decision making, in various accomplishments, in meeting the market requirement, in concentrating on customer requirements, market requirements. Okay, and objectives ultimately are helpful in designing strategies. They always try to provide standards for comparing your performance against the benchmarks in the market. Okay, so with the help of objectives, you can try to understand what exactly is your position, as against the competitors, as against the competitors in the market. So this is how exactly you try to compete with the benchmark standards out in the market. So this is the importance of objectives. Without objective, your firm would be objectives are like binoculars. Okay, they ultimately help you in deciding about the direction where how exactly the firm would navigate. Okay. uh, these are some of the old objectives of BSNL: to have a national plan target of 700 million subscriber base by December 2016. And I guess that the number of subscriber base must have certainly been reduced, because Reliance Jio has crossed a significant 10 million of subscriber base recently. Okay. So when you miss your objectives, you have to introspect your strategies. These are the They are the strategies which ultimately help you in attainment of objectives. If your objectives are missing, if you are unable to accomplish your objectives, then you must certainly evaluate your strategy. Fine. uh, what are the factors that affect objectives? Objectives are being affected by the external as well as internal environment. Now when it comes to external environment, we have already discussed rivalry among various competitors. This is one of the factor that affects your objectives. Then you can say bargaining power of customers, bargaining power of suppliers. Okay, these are some of the factors that keeps on affecting your objectives. Along with there are political factors, there are environmental factors. Now COVID can be considered as an environmental factor. It is beyond the reach of any company to control the situation right now. And government has made it mandatory for companies to cut down the employee force by almost 50%. So you have to work in shifts. You have to ask only 50% of your strength to come to companies and start working. It ultimately hampers productivity. People are not being led to visit showrooms. Okay, all the markets are closed. As a result of which, demand gets affected. Demand gets affected, your productivity would get affected. Okay. So this is how political factors, government, environmental factors. There are social factors too. Okay. Then you have technological factors, you have economic factors, and legal factors. We call it as pestle analysis. So overall, these are some of the external environmental factors that affect attainment of objectives. Next, there are internal environmental factors too, which keeps on affecting the objectives. Maybe sometimes your union may have called for a strike. What can you do? Again, a couple of months get vested in negotiating with the union leaders, and somehow you have to compromise to a situation, and again regain the manufacturing facilities. So this is one more internal factor that affects objectives. Then it can be in the form of internal technology available. There are so many forces. So you have internal, you have external forces affecting your attainment of objectives. What exactly are the value systems of the top executive? What exactly is the culture of your organization? So that also affects your attainment of objectives. So this was all about the story of objectives. I hope you people have understood. It has gone well down as to what objectives are. Any questions related to objectives are welcome now. Any questions? Yes, anyone? Any confusion? Any queries? Any disagreements? Please feel free to come on. Am I clear as to what exactly objectives are?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So should we go to discuss something related to goals?
Yes,
What
sir.
is yes? What is your idea of goals? Now we have already discussed as to what objectives are. Now let me confuse you people. Now we would be talking about goals. Many times we keep on talking about objectives and goals in life. Okay, but have you ever wondered what exactly is the difference between objectives and goals, and what are goals?
Goals can be quantified.
Goals can be,
We can give the numbers to them.
objectives can also be numbered, Nidhi, but a good attempt. I appreciate that. I hope you people are able to see the screen.
No, sir, we are not.
I've already shared the screen.
So few of them can and few of them cannot because I can see the objectives slide.
Okay, 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 okay. Yeah, now,
Yes,
yeah.
sir. Now it's
So,
visible.
yeah, fine. So what exactly are goals? Goal is defined as an intermediate result to be achieved by a certain time frame as a part of your grand plan. I'm talking about plan of action. A plan can therefore have many goals. As you can have many objectives, you can also have many goals. Now, just out of curiosity, I'm asking you, how do you interpret, objectives and goals? What according to you are, objectives, and what according to you are goals? You can go through the statement what exactly goals are. You have already seen, we have already discussed what exactly are objectives. any any interpretation from your side? See, goals are the outcome of what you intend to achieve, whereas objectives are the actions that help you achieve a goal. Having clear goals and objectives helps in making effective decision making. Again, I would like to repeat this. Goals are the outcome of your intention to achieve something. Goals are the outcome you intend to achieve, whereas objectives refer to the actions that help you in achieving your goals. Now let us discuss what exactly are the major differences between goals and achievement. Number one, here I would like to talk something that is related to alignment and order. Goals are set to achieve the mission statement of an organization or say individual, whereas objectives are set for accomplishment of goals. Maybe you have one goal, okay, and in order to achieve that particular goal, you'll have to attain five different objectives. So after achievement of five objectives, you can say my goal has been accomplished. Are you getting it? Goals are relative, higher in order compared to objectives. Just imagine a umbrella open in front of you. A umbrella, when you open up an umbrella, you have different spokes which gets stretched in order to stretch the umbrella cloth. Okay, all these spokes can be considered to be objectives. All these spokes can be considered to be objectives, whereas the stretched part of the cloth, okay, I'm going to say the umbrella cloth, can be considered as your goal. Now, is it clear what exactly is the difference between an objective and a goal? Goals are the outcomes of what exactly you intend to achieve, whereas objectives refers to what exactly are the actions that ultimately will help you in achieving your goals. The second major difference between goals and objectives can be attributed to scope. Goals are rather they have a broader scope. Okay, goals can be considered to be broader intentions and are often incapable of being measured. It's very difficult to quantify goals, but objectives can be easily quantified. Objectives are relatively narrow in their scope, okay, are narrow than goals, okay, and are you can describe objectives in the form of specific tasks. For example, uh, for example, suppose my goal is to reach, right now it's 11:30 in my clock, and my goal is to reach Pune by 3:30. My goal to reach Pune is by 3:30. By 3:30 I should be at Shivaji Nagar, Pune. Now in order to achieve goal of reaching Pune by 3:30 would be, now how do I relate my objectives? Okay, my objective would be to maintain a speed of 75 kilometers per hour. My average speed of driving my motor, okay, should be 75 kilometers per hour. So if I maintain my objective of if I achieve my objective of maintaining an average speed of 75 kmph, okay, I would be able to reach my goal. My second objective is to take not more than two halts. Okay, this can be this can be another objective. uh, the third objective would be, uh, can anyone suggest any one of you? Am I audible? Hello.
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Are you all there with me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so what exactly have you understood? I just would like to understand. Come on, tell me. This is quite confusing, difference between objectives and goals. We usually consider objectives to be goals and goals to be objectives.